How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. Today's episode is going to be a little different than normal. Normally, when I'm doing my spearfishing episodes, you're watching me from my head cam, just kind of that first-person perspective. Today, actually, what I have for you is some third-person footage that I brought a camera along on a couple of charters. There was 2 separate charters, and I brought the camera along. Unfortunately, I cannot do this on every trip. I have so many trips, it would be just hard to keep up with. But there was a couple scenarios in here that would be good to talk about, and I figured I'd sneak in a little midweek episode. Maybe you guys can learn something. As I always say, my way is not necessarily the right way. It's just how I feel about it, so I'm going to share it. If you disagree, that is fine. By all means, you're allowed to have your own opinion. But again, I'm just going to kind of critique these. Hopefully I don't hurt anyone's feelings. I love learning, so I love sharing things that I have learned. Something I did want to mention, though, by the way, this is Key West Waterman World Headquarters. This is where I do my editing and all that good stuff, answer comments. I am doing my absolute best to keep up with comments, but it's really becoming overwhelming, as you can see. This was one day of not doing comments, and there's several hundred in there. So I'm doing my best, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to keep up with it much longer. So I'll do my best to at least get to questions. As always, I appreciate you guys, all the support, all the comments you leave. Please keep leaving comments. Just know that I may be delayed getting to them, or I may not be able to get to them. But other than that, let's dive into this episode. Again, hopefully you learned something. A little different style. It's going to be all underwater, so no pun intended. Let's dive in. Welcome back underwater, everybody. Let's get straight into it. So you can see this is Alec. I had Alec, Grant, and Grace on this trip, and you can see there's a lot of leg movement going on before his dive. Is it going to ruin his dive? No, but he's burning a lot of energy there. Now, once he gets in the water, his dive looks great. Nice, long, fluid kicks. There's not a lot of wasted energy there. He's not fast, real quick pumps, nice, long, and then once he gets to the bottom, he slows down quite a bit and kind of gets his direction. And he finds him a nice fish, lines up, perfect broadside, gets the shot he wants. The only thing I don't like about this is he's bundling the shooting line and the gun together. So in that situation, I want to bring the shaft and fish to me. Leave the gun alone. There's no reason to bring all that together and kind of make a mess. As long as you've got something in your hand, the line or the shaft, let the gun go. It floats. Once it's fired, the wood guns float. So this is Grant. He does a nice mellow drop. I really liked his technique. You can see he's just kind of letting his negative buoyancy do the work here. His fins are just his steering. Just kind of scanning, looking for his target. Not a lot of wasted energy here once he got negative. And he gets a snapper he likes, waits very patiently until he has the shot he wants, gets a nice headshot, no wasted meat there. I really liked that dive. That was a great dive. You can see he gets to the fish, lets go of the gun, secures the fish. That's my preferred technique. Again, not necessarily the right way. I just like that. You're just less of a chance for a tangle there. These real quick, quote me or correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these are Pacific barracudas. This is the second time I've seen these. The first time it was a single one, but this time you can see there was quite a few of them. If I'm wrong, correct me. I think those are Pacific barracudas, which is pretty wild to see over here in the Florida Keys. So we are back to Alec. Again, a little extra movement on that entry. That's fine. It's not going to kill the dive, but tighten that up a little, and I think you have a little more energy and a little more time on the bottom. So I like his kicks. Nice, long, fluid kicks. Kind of levels out about 15 feet above the bottom, scanning, just kind of looking for his target. He sees what he likes. There's a nice black grouper here. He waits till it turns a little and gets that headshot. The only thing I don't like about this, again, is in my opinion, I would let go of that gun. That fish is on the bottom struggling. I'm going to go straight to that fish. And if you look now, because he has both, his shooting line is coming up on his chest, kind of past his neck, and then down back behind his shoulder. So if that fish were to come were to get loose from his hand and take off, or a shark grab it, or something, there's a lot of line around his body that could get wrapped and cause a situation. Yeah, baby. So we are back to Grant again. He has a very mellow technique. I really like it. He's letting his negative buoyancy kind of do the work once he gets halfway down. Not a lot of movement. He's lining up on a black here, and probably could have taken a shot. It just didn't give him the look that he wanted, and I respect that. So he waited on it. And this is Grace. Probably one of the best girl divers I've ever had on the boat. She had an incredible breath hold. She's kind of just scanning 15 feet off the bottom. She sees the fish she likes, kind of lines up. I think what went wrong with this is she was shooting one band. It didn't have the punching power. She's got that grouper broadside, hits it right in the head, and this is actually kind of funny. She spines it, but it comes off, and I swim over there because I have a feeling this is going to kind of be a situation, and she tries to grab the fish, and we made eye contact, and I could see she was out of air, but she really did not want to leave that fish on the bottom. Luckily, I had a good breathe up, so I was able to get over there and secure that fish. You could see there was a nurse shark that probably would have taken advantage of that, but that was a pretty funny situation. But other than that, she had a great dive. Everything looked smooth. I really liked it.
That was a first. That was a first.
So I didn't actually get this shot on camera, but this is Alex yellowjack. And it got wrapped in the bottom. You can see that was about a 15-pound yellowjack, and that Goliath grouper made quick work of it. Literally just swallowed it whole. These things are getting very aggressive down here. So we are going to jump over to a different group of guys. This is actually Ricky from Belize. He's a good friend of mine, Kevin. He brought him down to dive with us. I believe this was Ricky's first time diving in Key West. And apparently they don't deal with sharks over there. And I noticed this because I asked him, because he's a very experienced diver, incredible hunting ability. He let all of his fish dangle, and supposedly in Belize they pretty much never see sharks. You can see he's got quite a bit of bottom time. He lines up on a snapper here, and that fish was kind of on its way out. He took, I wouldn't call it a rush shot, but he took a shot I probably wouldn't have taken. You could see it tore out, and that fish actually ended up getting away. And this is Kevin, very good friend of mine. Been out quite a few times. He's a little more mellow on the surface. He did quite a few flutter kicks, but I like doing that. I do just a few just to get my momentum going so I can roll my weight into my dive. He has a great dive. He tucks his head, long fluid kicks. He's really getting a lot of power out of those fins. You can see his head is tucked. He's kind of spotting the bottom a little on the way down. He gets 15 feet, 20 feet off the bottom and kind of planes out and starts to scan because it is really clear. You want to kind of get an idea of where your target is. He's kind of just scanning. He sees some nice mangroves come in. He waits until it turns. Kind of being a little squirmy, and he gets a good shot there. A little bit back in the meat, but not a deal breaker. He's got the fish. Everyone's a little different. I prefer to wait for a headshot, but I know they can be difficult. And again, I'm not a fan of that dangling. If you're not comfortable pulling the fish to you, feel free to let it dangle. It just, in my findings, it attracts unwanted attention. But in this situation, I'm here. Kevin knows that any shark that comes in, I'm going to deal with it. So we're back to Ricky. You can see nice long fluid kicks. He actually spots the bottom a little early. Again, not necessarily wrong. He's getting it done. He's shooting fish just fine. I noticed he paused on most of his deeper dives. He paused about 35 feet up off the bottom, which the water's really clear. He's just, could just be trying to get his shot lined up, or his target in mind, rather. He sees the mangrove he wants. I'm a little far away, but he gets a good shot in it. And you can see he dumps his gun and goes straight to working on the fish. I'm just a big advocate of that. I know I repeat myself, but now don't necessarily just let go of your gun. You want to have some point of contact with the fish, whether it be the shooting line or the shaft. But I'm a fan of getting that gun away from me and kind of working from there. And again, he let his fish dangle. He said they never really have to deal with sharks in Belize, which I thought was pretty surprising. So we're back to Kevin. You can see head tucked, his chin's down. What your head tucked's doing is it releases a lot of tension you hold when you're kind of looking down at the bottom. You've got a lot of tension in your neck and your jaw and your kind of shoulder area, and you're just burning oxygen that way. If you notice, the really, really deep free divers, they always dive tucked. You can see he's kind of just scanning around. Not a whole lot going on. And I think Ricky saw this fish and realized that Kevin was going to be on his way out with his breath hold, so he made a quick drop. Another nice mangrove. These mangroves were actually really big. I know the video may not do justice, but I think the biggest mangrove we had was actually 24 inches, which is a really big mangrove for down here. Again, got him a nice good shot. And the ribs, not a whole lot of meat messed up there. I got on the camera a little late on this one. This is Kevin's drop. He lines up on a grouper, and I like the method. If you notice, he paused and he wasn't doing any kicking. He was letting himself sink to that fish. And the only real thing, not negative, the only critiquing I have on this one is he double wraps his guns. I'm not a big fan of that. You could see once he shot, that fish had a lot of slack to work with. A lot of people double wrap. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it just leaves too much slack in the line. But again, he got the fish, so technically, there's nothing wrong with that. It was a great dive and a great fish. We're back to Ricky. Another drop. He's just doing it. I like this, letting your weight kind of do the work. Your fins are just for steering. When you're down on the bottom, you don't have to be actively kicking, racing around, searching everything. Just, kind of sink, let your fins drive you around a little bit. And he was real patient on that one. Got him a nice headshot on a mangrove. As you know, I will take those all day. Big old sea turtle here. Love these loggerheads. Always a pleasant sight. And you see a nice Goliath grouper there in the background. If you're not familiar, those are protected here. Lots of life on this spot. This was gorgeous. So this last fish was up in a rock. We had found it with a flashlight. If you know me, I'm a big fan of hole hunting and cave hunting. It's like a puzzle. It's very tactical. I love a good challenge. I love puzzles. There's just something about it that is one of my favorite styles of hunting. You can see he's got the flashlight just in line with his gun. He's leading with his gun. Where the flashlight is looking is where his gun is looking. So the second he sees that fish, he gets the light on it, he's ready to shoot. Gets a good shot in it. You can see all the dust came out. That lets you know you hit the fish. Just got to return to the surface, get some air, and get ready to try and pull this thing out of here. I always carry a light on me, even if I don't think I'm going to be hole hunting. You never know.
Sounds like you hit him.
So the majority of the spots on this day were about 50 to 60 feet. This last spot was actually, I believe it was about 40. Just to give you some info, I know the camera can be a little deceiving. So Ricky's got him a good shot in his fish. I'm not a big fan of this, and I'll show you here in a second, just kind of pulling on the shaft. Now, if you're comfortable with his shot, he's experienced enough. He knows where he hit the fish. He's comfortable with it. I personally don't like that. I like to get my hands in there, kind of get behind the fish, feel just where the shot is at first. Maybe if I can turn the head a little bit and try and wiggle this thing out. A lot of times your flopper is going to get stuck. You really don't know what's going on in there unless it's a more of an open hole kind of deal. And I can't comment on this because I wasn't looking at the fish. That's just how I think in a hole, as a whole, when it comes to hole hunting. And say it's a thin shot, if you're just sitting there, he wasn't really pulling very hard on it, obviously. He was just kind of, he was being pretty mellow with it. But if you're just sitting there yanking on your shaft and it's not a great shot, there's a good chance you're going to pull the fish out, or pull out from the fish. So you can see this time, he realizes shaft's a little stuck. I'm going to have to get in here and kind of see if I can wiggle this thing around, move it a little bit. Just kind of assess the situation a little more. And depending on where you hit the fish, and in hole shots, a head shot is the best shot, because if you hit the fish mid-body, you're trying to pull something twice the length out. If you hit it in the head, you're able to turn that head and work with the shaft. If you hit it in mid-body, the shaft and the fish are perpendicular. There's no ability to turn that fish and get it out properly, if that makes sense. So head shots are very important when it comes to hole shots, in my opinion. And this is his last one. He realized the other side of the rock, it was a little more open, so maybe he was able to get a hold of the fish there and pull it out that way. You can see he's got a little more room to work. You see the shaft coming out of this side. Little red grouper there up top. He's working on the backside now. There's always a way out. If the fish can get in there, there's a way out. And he actually hit it in the belly a little bit, but he kind of used a little bit of force and just ripped that shaft out so that fish isn't out flopping, which I like. He wanted to get it out in one take. So, but that is all I've got on this one, guys. Hope you learned something. Kind of a little midweek bonus episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Yeehaw! That is one way to do it.